I.S.U.P.K.
And I know how I actually met you was through Facebook. Exactly. And I had watched one of your videos, and you were actually, I don't know if you were standing downtown or somewhere in the metropolitan area, and you were talking to the masses outside.
Correct.
So what are some of the ideals and the faith that the organization UPK is actually founded upon?
We're not founded upon Christianity, but we believe in the Bible. We know that the Bible is the absolute unadulterated truth on the face of the earth. And we also know that these laws, statutes, and commandments in this Bible is what's going to unify us. And it's the only government and the only rule or the only constitution that makes sense for Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. I mean, like, even whenever you look at what the white man has done with his system, he literally stole our ancient records and created his own perverted system of it. Everybody knows that the Bible belongs to the Jews. Well, when you look at the white man's court system, what does he call it? The judicial system. He literally took our ancient records and perverted them and used our book to rule over us. It's like, you take, for an example, when we were in slavery, what was the one thing they didn't allow the slaves to do? I'm asking you a question.
No, go ahead.
They didn't allow them to read, but read what? People say that, okay, the slaves couldn't read. They didn't have a problem with the slaves reading an instruction manual to build a table or to how to build a house. What they didn't want them reading was those scriptures in that book, because they knew that if they read it in its proper context, then the slaves would understand that this book pertains to us, and this book is the only thing that can deliver us. So, to answer your question, coming back and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments in this Bible without the sprinkled nonsense of Christianity, what the white man has put on it. Because if you let the white man tell the story, Jesus is white, Mary is white, the disciples are white. You got a bunch of naked floating babies out of space that are white. But when we pick up this Bible, they're all Black people in this Bible.
And I think that's, well, not think, but I know that's very true, because if you just look at the geographical aspects of things, it would only make sense that these would be people of color.
Exactly.
And, you know, just to go back, you mentioned that, you know, Black people, you know, they call themselves Black in America, or they call themselves African. So one of my questions was, you said they're actually the true people of God known as Israelites.
Exactly.
Why are you so adamant about this reality, and can you give some educational information and history on the ancestral discernment? Okay,
dealing with the Israelites, everybody wants to say that we came from Africa. Well, if you want to say vaguely, it may make sense on the surface, but let's go into history. In 70 AD, the Romans invaded Jerusalem. There were over 1 million Jews that fled into the northwest corners of Africa. Well, you got to deal with the people that were inhabiting that land. They looked at these new people like, who are y'all over here in our land, encroaching on our land, eating all our food, building up infrastructure? Y'all don't live here and we don't know y'all. The native people of that land rounded up the Jews and sold them to the so-called white man into slavery. So you fast forward history 400 years later, it's no differently than America. If you have Chinese people rounding up all of the white people, and 400 years from now they say, well, Americans were selling Americans into slavery. No, not according to history. It would have been Chinese people selling authentic white people into slavery. Two different nations of people, even though they lived in the same land. The scholars know for a fact. Give me the Zondervan Bible dictionary. We're going to go inside of the dictionary and we're going to see what the dictionary says about Ham. when you're dealing with the landmass of Africa, do you know where those people came from? Who were their forefathers? They come from a man named Ham. They're called Hamitic people. This is where we get it from. Well, we're going to get the definition.
I got it.
Read it for me.
In the Donovan Dictionary, the definition of Ham. Ham, youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. So everybody knows about the flood. Everybody has heard. Every ancient civilization has it written on their wall reliefs. Everybody has heard about the flood that flooded everybody on the face of the planet. Well, Ham was one of 8 people to live through the flood. Keep reading. He became the progenitor.
Progenitor meaning father of the who?
The dark races.
Of the dark races. Black people, we are dark race of people, so we must come from Ham. Keep reading.
But not the Negro.
But not the who?
Not the Negro.
Not the Negroes. Because the scholars know for a fact that we fled into that land. Why did we not flee to the other side of the world? Simple. Because it's white people over there. We fled into a land where dark people that look like us. Keep reading.
But the Egyptians,
Ethiopians,
Libyans
and Canaanites. The scholars know for a fact that the black people over here don't descend from them. And they know for a fact that 4 major families make up all over 50 of them countries over there in Africa, and we don't come from none of them.
What people don't understand is where you from don't make who you are. If my parents were on a cruise and I was born in the Pacific Ocean, would that make me Pacifican? That don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? So what we like to do, we bring out the technicalities and make people think about it. Like my mother and father is black, but if they just so happen to take a vacation to China while she was pregnant and I was born in China, would I be Chinese? I would not be. I would be whatever my mother and father is. And yes, we were in that land of Africa on the West Coast. But just because we were there doesn't mean that we are those people.
Now, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about Christianity and the Bible, how, you know, we're the Israelites, the chosen people. And one of the things that you said before we left was basically almost describing the unification of Native Americans, Hispanic, Latino people, people of African descent. I think that's very important because it seems like today, now with Trump in the office and all the transparency that people seem to forget about when Obama was here, they're realizing that we're all people of color, because for the longest it just felt like we were the only people of color, black people. And a lot of times Latinos or Latinos or Native Americans, you know, they've been made to feel like they're on the hierarchy of the white society, you know, and now they're being reminded that they're not, with everything from the pipes that's been going through, you know, their, what do you call them, through their native lands, to the whole incident that happened in Puerto Rico. They're being reminded, the people of color. And what can you speak on that as far as us learning to understand that we all kind of come from a background of being Israelites or brown?
Matter of fact, Salakia, give me Deuteronomy 28:1. I apologize. The Bible, the prophecies in the Bible make it very clear what's going on with us and what's happening with us. The problem, like I said, is that we ain't never read this book before. You got that scripture for me?
I got it.
Read.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently. Hearken
diligently means listen very closely. See, we've been taught in Christianity that God is an unforgiving or an unconditional loving God. Well, according to this Bible, God deals in 2 ways. You do what I said do, I'll bless you. And if you don't do what I said do, it's punishments. This scripture say, if you hearken diligently, that means if you listen very closely, read.
Unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments.
Now do some of them.
To observe and to do all his commandments.
Just a few of them.
And to observe and to do all his commandments.
Every single last one of his commandments. Keep reading.
Which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Above all nations. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans were created to be above everybody on the face of the planet. Now give me verse 15 in the same chapter. Read. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord. So if you won't listen to what the Most High told you to do, you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, read. To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee. All these curses shall come upon thee. Black people,
everybody knows that we ruled all of the known world at some point in time. After King David going into King Solomon's rulership, we ruled all of the known world. King Solomon had a dream where he said he saw princes, the princes of the earth, getting ready to inherit their kingship on foot and slaves on horses' backs. He couldn't believe in his dream that you mean to tell me the people up there in the Caucasus, Georgia, Russia mountains that we call Caucasians now would rule this entire planet? Well, they became instant believers when the slave ships showed up. What I'm saying is all of these disasters that we going through, and can't nobody dispute the fact that the white man ruling over us is a major disaster. That's from our hard-headedness and us not listening to the Most High. Give me 28 and 47. That's why we dealing with these issues. That's why we number one for diabetes, we number one for AIDS, we number one for gout, we number one in every negative aspect across the board. Is this some big coincidence that this one group of people is number one in mass incarceration, number one in everything that's negative? No, the Bible makes it very clear why we would end up in this situation.
And I think, you know, my point is just to say, how do people of color all together be unified? Because it seems like they have done such a great job at dividing us up, but keeping the European culture so strong to make themselves superior. And I feel like we should be the ones that are superior because we make up 80% of this globe, people of color. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. We are a superior group of people. Let's look at, you know what I'm saying, you say that we make up 80% of the globe. Who came up with 98% of the world's inventions? Who are the best athletes? Who are the best singers? Who are the best dancers? Give me Deuteronomy 7:6. The Most High made it clear that of all of these nations, even all of them African nations over there, they didn't create 98% of the world's inventions. That's coming from one group of people. It's one group of people that dominates in when it comes to aspect of being creative and have given the most to the world. Who else has with us? Every empire has been built on our back. The Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Persians, the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans. Damn, we even built the Great Wall of China during the Ming Dynasty. That's us. Read that for me.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
That was you Israelites, you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You are a holy people unto the Most High. Keep reading.
The Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
A special people unto himself. Just like you got a favorite dress, just like you got a favorite pair of shoes, just like you got a favorite hairstyle, like you got a favorite car, the Most High got a favorite group of people. Keep reading.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
But I thought we were all created equal.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so packed, I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues, call this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good record. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good shepherd. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I don't believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain, something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord?